Hello trainers, Professor Palm here, and I feel great after recovering from a terrible cold. It's good to see all of you once again. I'll say that while I was recovering, I thought of a lot of things, and one thing that I was thinking about the most is poison type Pokemon, as I find the typing a very underrated one. While the poison type may not be my favorite typing, I will say that it's a great typing, and we're also not short on poison type Pokemon. We have an abundance of poison type Pokemon. In fact, in the recent games, we've gotten a lot of poison type legendaries. But the reason why I find the typing so underrated is because we had to wait till Generation 6 to introduce the fairy typing for it to gain another strength. That's right. For the longest time, the only thing that poison type was super effective on was grass type Pokemon. But if you want to go really back to the past in Gen 1, poison also had another strength, and that was to bug typing. It's kind of crazy to think that going forward, poison originally had 2 strengths, then had 1, and now has 2. Kind of would have been cool to keep the poison and bug kind of power going. Honestly, with how strategic you can be with poison type, it kind of does beg the question, why do we not have more poison type gym leaders? We only have 3, Koga, Janine, and Roxanne. In fact, the only poison type Elite 4 member we've ever had is Koga. It is kind of crazy to think that with how many there are, we really don't have that many experts. Well, to be fair, there are a lot of Villainous teams that use poison type Pokemon. If you do think about it, before we had the dark typing introduced in Generation 2, poison was a pretty good typing for a lot of villains, because they know how to be very dastardly, especially when they can slowly take out your Pokemon. A lot of Villainous teams use dark type Pokemon, which makes a lot of sense as dark type Pokemon can be pretty wicked. After all, in Japan, the dark typing is also known as the evil typing. But I would say that poison type Pokemon come a close second to being pretty evil. I mean, if you really think about it, a lot of poisons have a skull and crossbones, warning you about the dangers they can be. I guess that you could say that poison typing was the OG evil typing. After all, poison was very associated with Team Rocket, but also they did a lot of damage to your Pokemon in the worst kind of ways. They also are some of the most disgusting Pokemon as they smell... Speaking of which, ugh, what is that awful stench? And I know it's not my Trubbish and Garbodor, they're all the way over there. It smells awful. Ugh, jeez, even Steak would say that stinks. Ugh. Oh, wait a second. I know exactly which ones they're talking about. That's right. Ugh, maybe I should go get a gas mask or something, because I'm talking about 2 of the most horrendous poison type Pokemon ever. The ones that are based on the air pollution and I guess you could say are toxic gas bombs. I'm of course talking about Koffing and Weezing. Jeez, these Pokemon's names say it all for what they do, especially with how poisonous they can be. I envy you. You're not here with me. It smells awful. I really think I'm gonna throw up. These are probably some of the most disgusting poison type Pokemon ever made. And with a living trash bag as well as a garbage dump, that's saying a lot. Then again, these Pokemon explode with a lot of poisonous fumes around them. I might have to go to Nurse Joy after this. You don't know how bad this place smells. I also would say that something that makes them really a standout Pokemon is that they have multiple heads. It took us a very long time till we got another Pokemon line like this. If the Skull and Crossbones were not enough to tell you these Pokemon are dangerous, their fumes will. I'm just gonna say it. I like poison type Pokemon, but I do think that all of them have at least this one terrible downside. It's the terrible smell for both Koffing and Weezing. But I will also say that these Pokemon do have something kind of cool compared to so many other poison-type Pokemon. Koffing and Weezing can live anywhere. These Pokemon like smelly places, like the sewers as well as the garbage dump. But did you know that they can live inside smokestacks or even places that produce toxic fumes? What's so cool about these Pokemon is they have a crazy lung capacity. They can take in the most horrendous of fumes and not even be affected in the smallest bit. I'm sorry, forgive me. I really cannot hold it back anymore. I think that we should get started and talk about these toxic gas bombs, as there's a lot of crazy things to talk on, and I also really don't want to be with them that much longer. So let's talk all about Koffing and Weezing. But before we do that, HTTP Koopa, I want to give you a very special thanks and shout out for my Team Rocket shirt. Since Weezing is a staple Pokemon used by Team Rocket, especially James, what's a better shirt to wear than this one? If you like the Villainous teams and like some of the outfits that they wear, check out HTTP Koopa on Etsy. He has some really cool Pokemon shirts. So be sure to check him out and remember to say Professor Palm sent ya. Today I was looking forward to having a blast, not a stink blast. The sooner we can get this done, the better. So let's fly in the sky with our toxic balloon itself, Koffing! Koffing, the poison gas Pokemon, is based on a virus cell. Along with the skull and crossbones on its body and tendency to explode, Koffing is also inspired by a floating naval mine. And with its toxic fumes on it, it's also been inspired by a gas bomb, as well as air pollution toxin cells. If you want to find the stink bomb of a Pokemon, Koffing are easily found in urban areas, usually in places with a lot of horrible fumes nearby, like chimneys and even the sewer, as they love the horrible smell of toxic fumes. Some of them also like volcanoes because they like the warm and heavy fumes. Koffing flies with its balloon body that it inflates with its horrible toxic gases, which are surprisingly lighter than air. And whenever it's around, you'll know they are because they leave a putrid scent. Koffing create their own toxic gases with their disgusting diet of smoke, sludge, and raw garbage to set off a powerful chemical reaction in their body that results in them producing their terrible poison gas. If you happen to own a gas mask and get up close to Koffing, you will be given the chance to observe what goes on under its skin, and you'll see the toxic gases swirling inside of its balloon body. All of these organs inside of Koffing also act as a little bit of an industrial system. Not only does Koffing consistently release its fumes, but its thin, filmy body is coated with these terrible gases that cause sniffles, coughs, and even teary eyes. Some of the smells are so bad that if you inhale them, you will be throwing up and even sick for days. If you were not already warned by this Pokemon's skull and crossbones, there's another reason that you should avoid Koffing. It really puts the word bomb in stink bomb, because Koffing explode without any warning. The worst places that you could ever encounter a Koffing are in hot places, as the toxic gases in Koffing expand much more rapidly due to the heat. They also have short tempers, so when they get angry and are very hot, they literally blow up. The color of their smog expelled from their bodies usually determines the things that they've eaten as well as their toxicities. On the bright side, some Koffing only produce white smog as they prefer to eat clean things as well as keep the air clean. Many Koffing can actually be helpful as they enjoy eating smog and polluted air. They take in a lot of toxic smoke, making it really easy for so many other people and Pokemon to breathe. On a really cool note, Koffing can breathe in any sort of atmosphere. It doesn't matter how heavy or how deadly the gas can be. Some studies have shown that Koffing expelling toxic gases are not always the ones that they consume, but its internal organs also turn its waste to gases, so it's expelling those out of all of its holes on its own. Because of the horrendous odors that Koffing releases, it has a positive relationship with both Skunky, Skuntank, as well as Trubbish and Garbodor, as all these Pokemon are big fans of what the horrible smells produce. In fact, you can always find them living together. Ugh, Koffing sure is one foul stinker of a Pokemon. Just the smallest scent of it reeks. I really want to hurl. I'm sure you would too around this Pokemon. As much as I really want to end things here, I can't. Because today, we're going to the next level of putridness. As when Koffing gets stronger, so does its foulness. So, let's evolve this revolting poison gas bomb into Weezing. Oh, Its name says it all. Just being around this noxious Pokemon really wants to make you vomit. Weezing, the poison gas Pokemon, is based on a virus cell. Along the skull and crossbones on its body and tendency to explode, Weezing is also inspired by a floating naval mine. And with its toxic fumes, it's based on a gas bomb, as well as air pollution. Also, the 3 arms connected by a stem makes it resemble a molecule. If you wish to find this toxic bomb of a Pokemon, you can find Weezing living in urban areas, as it likes places like the dump as well as the sewers. Some Weezing even live in abandoned, unkempt houses, as they like to stay anywhere that's dirty and disgusting. Weezing are dumpster divers, as during the night, it feeds on lots of garbage, especially the gases emitted by these horrible toxic wastes. For them, the smellier and more toxic the garbage is, the better the meal will be. Did you know that both the heads on Weezing can shrink and inflate? Very similar to that of balloons, Weezing can shrink and inflate its twin bodies' heads when it's all filled with toxic gases, which are surprisingly lighter than air, and these gases help Weezing fly. The bigger head at the moment usually acts as the leader, and both these heads get along very well. The more gases absorbed and mixed into Weezing's body, the more powerful their toxins become. They usually get their toxins from eating a lot of raw garbage, but also they get them from Stunky and Skuntank, as these Pokemon work together. On a rather disgusting note, their bodies are just as deadly, as they give off a putrid scent from constantly being covered in the poisonous fog that they emit. Oh, and speaking of the poisonous fog, both of Weezing's heads produce different kinds of toxins. While both of them are equally as deadly, some of them have their own smell, and one can produce a rather toxic smell, while the other one can have a rather fresh scent come out of it. While Weezing is a completely different Pokemon from Koffing, some studies suggest that a sudden mutation caused 2 Koffing to become conjoined as one, becoming the Pokemon we know as Weezing. This mutation was so powerful that, in some rare cases, triplet Weezings have been found. However, that's extremely rare. Something that you may have noticed is the small sphere that connects both of Weezing's heads. It is the stink sac, and it releases a mix of both of Weezing's toxins. Some studies also suggest that some vital organs like the heart and brain just might be in there as well. Despite Weezing's awful stench and terrible poison, their gases can be used to make top-grade perfume by diluting them at the highest level. In fact, Weezing have their own brand that you can buy, and some of these perfumes are great for flowers. They especially attract lots of grass-type Pokemon. Weezing can also be rather helpful, as they absorb a lot of air pollution and smoke. These Pokemon love eating smoke so much that there are a lot of firefighters who use Weezing as their partners. Whether it comes to forest fires or even burning buildings, Weezing easily go in and help clear up the smoke to make daring rescues. No matter how bad the air is, Weezing can breathe just fine. Even the most heaviest of smoke will not stop it. In fact, Weezing have great vision that they can easily see through the smog. While Weezing is a foul, wretched stink bomb that flies around poisoning the air around it, it actually has a bright side to it. Or should I say, a clean side to it. As in the Galar region, we met a completely different side to Weezing with Galarian Weezing. Not only are they different because of their clean and fresh nature, but they also have a complete different appearance with them, as well as a brand new typing to them, with the fairy typing added to their poison typing. Weezing in the Galar region changed into this Galarian form some reason a long time ago. This was during a time when droves of factories fouled the air with so much air pollution. Some studies believe that it's possible that the toxicity in the air absorbed by the toxicity from Weezing changed into something clean and pure. The smoke that erupts from their chimney top hats is actually a new clear kind of toxin that can easily immobilize any opponent. These toxins are so strong that when expelled, they have the power to knock out Pokemon's abilities and even put them out cold. These Weezings of Galar are like ticking time bombs, not just because they release a lot of stenches in the air, but they're very quick to anger. While the big chimney on its hat does look like it's for show, it's actually as strong as a staff, and with a quick swipe, Galarian Weezing can knock down anyone who challenges it in just one swipe. Galarian Weezing consumes a lot of toxic particles that contaminate the air. As for them, the more toxic and horrendous, the better they taste. Also, instead of leaving droppings, Galarian Weezing expels clean air. You may notice that it has a lot of green particles and clouds around it. These actually have a really fresh scent to them. We have a lot of different toxins in this world. Some of them are harmful, and some of them are helpful, as all scents are completely different. It's also a complete contrast between Weezing and Galarian Weezing. I gotta say, I really like what we have going here with a healthy poison type Pokemon. Nice to see that not all poison types are bad, and also it's kind of cool that we have a fresh bomb in the sky in the form of Galarian Weezing. Koffing, Weezing, and Galarian Weezing have been around for a very long time. In all that time, they've been cleaning as well as polluting the air that we breathe. These Pokemon sure have a lot of gas and hot air within them. They're a really cool poison type line, and each of them has some cool things to talk on. So let's talk on some cool tidbits and fun facts about these poison gas Pokemon. Only in Pokemon Red and Blue is Koffing completely reversed, as its skull and crossbones on its body appear above its face, rather than below its face, which it normally does. However, this was not the case in Pokemon Red and Green, and this was never the case again after Pokemon Yellow. In the Sinnoh games, according to the Pokedex entries, though they're very rare, Weezing triplets have been found. However, we've never seen them in any sort of Pokemon media. Galarian Weezing shares its unique typing of Poison Fairy, currently with only Pheasantipity. Koffing and Weezing, along with Grimer, Muck, Trubbish, and Garbodor, all make up the Pollution Pack. As all these Pokemon are pure Poison type, have the same base stat totals, same evolution levels, are all 2-stage evolution Pokemon, and appear to be based on different kinds of pollution. In Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Time, and Explorers of Darkness, Koffing is a member of Team Skull, along with Zubat and leader Skuntank. It's also the boss of the Beach Cave. Weezing in the core series games is the signature Pokemon of Gym Leader Koga, the poisonous Ninja Master. Weezing is also the signature Pokemon of Petrel, the third in command Team Rocket executive. Currently, Galarian Weezing and Xerneas are tied for being the tallest fairy-type Pokemon, as they both stand at 9'10". Originally, Koffing and Weezing only had one ability, Levitate, which allows them to fly without ever being able to be hit by ground-type moves. However, as of Generation 8 introducing Galarian Weezing, they also gained the new ability Neuralizing Gas, which suppresses other Pokemon's abilities. Galarian Weezing can learn more moves that cause it to faint than any other Pokemon, as it can learn Self-Destruct, Explosion, Memento, and Misty Explosion. Weezing and its Galarian counterpart are the only Poison-type Pokemon, as well as Fairy-type Pokemon, that consist of multiple bodies. In the Pokemon Red and Blue beta, Koffing was originally known as NY, and Weezing was known as LA, representing New York City and Los Angeles polluted air. And Galarian Weezing was the first Galarian form ever revealed. Koffing and Weezing sure bring out the worst in the air, as their toxic gases and horrendous fumes clear a way for them, and they're so disgusting that so few Pokemon ever battle them because they want to be caught in that terrible gas. They sure use their pure poison type to their advantage, as they have some horrendous poison type moves. However, like almost all Pokemon, both Koffing and Weezing have their disadvantages when they go into battle. Being pure poison type, both our toxic bomb Pokemon are weak to moves that are psychic type, and for a long time it was that way, of only a single weakness. Usually they'd be weak to ground type moves, but for a while it wasn't that way because of the ability Levitate. However, as of Generation 8 with the new ability, or being hit with Gravity, they can fall down to Earth and be hit again with a super effective ground type move. Only 2 weaknesses, which isn't bad, but let's see what happens, and let's travel to the Galar region, where we once again meet Galarian Weezing, who gains the Fairy typing along with its Poison typing. Now, let's see what the Galar region's Weezing is weak to. When our Clean Bomb of Purity Galarian Weezing goes off into battle, it's disadvantaged with a few different kind of moves along with its Fairy type, as this Pokemon is completely disadvantaged when it's hit with Psychic type, Steel type, And while they may have the ability to levitate, some of them can also have the other ability, or can be hit with the move Gravity and be super effectively hit with ground type moves. Only 3 weaknesses, not too bad, but I think it's time that we return back to normal. We're gonna go back to Koffing and the regular Weezing. When these toxic bombs go off, you know that you're in trouble, as when they go into battle with their pure poison type, they have some powerful poison type moves, which are super effective on Pokemon who are grass type and fairy type. This is a nice even split for both Koffing and Cantonian Weezing, as they have 2 strengths and 2 weaknesses. Glad that they have an equal level of toxicity. Now, let's clear the air and go back to the Galar region and see what Galarian Weezing is very strong against. When in the Galar region, Galarian Weezing's power of cleanliness is just as strong as its dual typing, as this Pokemon, being a poison and fairy type Pokemon, learns a lot of moves which are super effective on Pokemon who are grass type, fighting type, fairy type, dark type, and of course, dragon type. But this is also an advantage, as dragon type moves will not hurt them, as they are completely immune. Wow, 5 strengths over 3 weaknesses. That's a great glow up, especially with the fairy typing added to it. Whenever Koffing or Weezing are nearby, you know that something toxic is in the air with their stinky gas. However, surprisingly, the world would actually be a little bit more of a poisonous place if Weezing and Koffing were not a part of it. It might be hard to believe, but these Pokemon actually have healed the air with eating all the smoke and smog, as they really do care about what's going on. However, that doesn't forgive their awful fumes that they release. Poison-type Pokemon have that one powerful poison technique, and for these noxious stink bombs, they can most definitely clear a battle with one smelly explosion. You better have yourself an antidote or a Peccaberry on hand, because Koffing and Weezing poison reeks so bad that it's worse than anything you could possibly smell or even eat. I guess you could say these Pokemon are gas giants. For some of the first-gen poison-type Pokemon, both Koffing and Weezing have aged like a fine poison. As if their skull and crossbones didn't tell you that they were dangerous enough, there are still so many villainous teams that actually use these Pokemon. Then again, they do make a pretty good stink bomb in order for you to get away. But also, these Pokemon really are some of the worst ever, because when they release their toxins, everyone gets affected. It's why these Pokemon are so essential for so many villainous teams. Whether you like poison types or not, you cannot deny that both Koffing and Weezing are some of the best designs when you think of poison type. And you can't really get anything closer to that than a virus cell or even a stink bomb. But you better be very careful around these Pokemon, as they detonate very easily. If that happens, you better pinch your nose around these toxic gas bombs, as they'll put you in toxic shock. Welcome back, trainers. I hope that you all freshen yourselves up and put on a completely different change of clothes. Believe me, with those toxic gases and fumes that you've been smelling, they're not going to go away anytime soon. As much as I'd like to end this, I just have a few questions for all of you. Team Rocket has sure used a lot of poison-type Pokemon over the years. Who do you think is the most common poison-type Pokemon that the grunts and even the executives use? Since I happen to find the poison typing a very underrated typing, what do you think is the most underrated typing of all of them we have? Gen 1 introduced the most amount of poison-type Pokemon than any other region. And over the years, we've gotten a lot of poison-type Pokemon. Which generation introduced the best poison-type Pokemon? Who's your favorite? As well as, what's your favorite poison-type move? Who do you think is the strongest as well as the most disgusting of the pollution pack? And at last, do you think that we need more poison-type experts like gym leaders or Elite Four members? Or do you think it's as good as is? I'm going to take a shower. I am going to get lemon juice, and then I am going to the doctor. I don't think that being exposed to these terrible fumes is good for me. So, if you liked what you saw, then please leave a like. If you have any questions, you want to answer any of the questions I throw at you. You want me to talk about another Pokemon line, or you want me to talk about something else Pokemon related, or even about Pokemon Legends Z-A, then please comment. And if you liked what you saw and you want to see more, smash that subscribe button. Also, please feel free to share my videos with as many trainers as you can. As my job as a Pokemon professor, I like to teach trainers just like you. And thanks for watching, trainers. Palm out!